I'm Bart. I'm CCO and partner at Pointerpro. Like our CEO, Stefan, I'm an engineer, but unlike our CEO, I don't come from the consultancy world. I worked 20 years for Cisco, and then I was involved in a startup making cloud cameras with artificial intelligence. And after this startup was purchased by a big company, I found my new home in the SaaS world at Pointerpro. And the first thing I noticed when joining the company, I saw that a lot of our customers started using our tool for the first reason they bought it. However, they didn't take it to the second use case or third, most of the times because they didn't know, or the other people in the company didn't know that they had a license already to do this. And in this webinar, I will mainly be talking about different use cases of the assessment tool and give you some tips that we learned doing studies around it, or where customers talk to us about best practices and do's and don'ts of our tool. So you should know that once you buy a Pointerpro license, you can use it for a number of cases, and you can make as many assessments as you want. And they're all applicable in the customer journey. And with the customer journey, I am talking about the acquisition phase and the onboarding phase going into the project phase, and then, of course, closure of or the handoff phase. Whether you're a single man coach or consultant in diversity of or environment, or you're part of the big four, it's all the same customer journey. And I often refer to assessments being like the Swiss Army knife. Some people are using it for just one thing, for example, the toothpick. And the real power comes, of course, when you use the tool in several customer phases I just mentioned. So you should ask yourself, are you using the knife to the full extent or just using the toothpick? Okay, so let me first talk about digitize the customer journey. When I need to explain what Pointerpro does, for example, I try to explain it to my mother. I would explain her that the traditional way for a services company to collect data is to collect data and enter it in any tool like Excel or Google Sheets or what have you. And then someone needs to analyze all the answers, look at the scores, and in order to give some personalized advice, do some calculations. And then they need to go to the next person to assess. What Pointerpro does is exactly automate this whole process, which immediately results in time gained. You could also say that we're digitizing specific tasks. And why is digitizing the customer journey so powerful? Well, if you're here, you probably already have some reasons. So please feel free to drop them in the chat, but I've noted a few, like scalability. You can serve more customers efficiently, or instant gratification. Your assessee immediately will receive an individual personalized report that is relevant for him about the answers that he a couple of seconds earlier has given to you. I would talk about consistency. Every customer gets a standardized, high-quality experience. Not to forget honesty. A digital tool captures more direct and honest answers, we know that, than some face-to-face conversations. So Spreading that over the digitized, the customer journey. As I mentioned, we talk about acquisition, onboarding, project, and handoff. And I came up with a acronym, summarize data, and every letter stands for a tip that I will give in every specific phase. There are some tips that you can use. Either if you're using our tool today as a lead gen, well, maybe there are some other things that you can use it for, or maybe you use it in the project phase and then say, hey, but maybe we can acquire new customers or convert new customers using this tool. So let's dig into it and start with the acquisition phase. That phase I will split into two, lead generation and then lead conversion. In the lead gen phase, when we talk about lead generation, we basically mean find or making people find their way to your business and get them to give you their contact information to start building the relationship. The biggest enemy here in this phase is time, because they don't know what they will get in return. And so if I say the enemy is time, it's also perception of time. That's what they give to you, so they immediately want something in return. The first tip would be that in a simple lead gen assessment, we advise not to use more than 10 questions. You probably have many more, but stick it to 10. Because more will get people reluctant to continue. We also see other things that users do, and we advise to avoid using scroll down of questions, having them in multiple blocks. Instead, use multiple forms, one screen per question, one question per screen. And studies have shown that you can increase the response up to 300% by doing that. On top of that, we would also advise to show a progress bar to reduce the drop-offs. It demonstrates that you respect the prospect's time. And it's a very easy thing to do. As you see here in our tool, it's just a click, and then you show your the people who are filling it out that you care and that they're halfway or that they're at 80%, so to continue what they're doing. Okay, here I have an example of a perfect B2B consultant example of using assessments for lead generation via his website. Elevate Consulting helps companies, often in the sphere of SaaS, with sustainable growth. And you can see that the first thing front to center on this website is the invitation to take their scale-up assessment. So it's very key to make it, wow, clear, I need to press here and continue. Okay, remember that you want to respect the user's time. And let the interaction flow as smooth, as natural as possible. So you want to get to the point and ask the most relevant questions. So, for example, if you're a leadership coach for managers at different levels, you probably don't want to ask the same questions to a middle manager than to a director. You probably want to start the question where they can indicate, okay, what is my level, and then continue. Here you can see in the example that's a lead gen form that was used by one of our real estate agencies in Belgium. And they're offering services to help sell the residence. The first step, of course, is asking what type of residence, because it doesn't make sense to talk extensively about the garden if you're on a second level apartment. If it is a second level apartment that you wanna sell. But it's not only about the first question and then guide them into a specific role. It's continuously, and you can see here, you can guide any potential buyer of a service or a product in various ways with our if-then logic. And you can do a lot of that. So in function of each answer, you can lead them to more relevant lines of questioning. This is what we call the guided selling assessment. It's much easier for your website visitor to figure out this way what service they should get from you than by having them read through entire pages where you try to explain what all your services are. Okay, so I'm probably not telling you anything new, but as in sales, sometimes I take a sales course still, and then I say, oh, it's good to run it by me again. And that's maybe also interesting, just hearing me out further. So I'm sure you all have been at the supermarket where somebody offers you a piece of cheese or whatever, and you take a bite, and at that moment you love it, and the next thing you're buying the whole cheese wheel. That is called the sunk cost fallacy. And if someone already invested time in your assessment, they'll be more likely to complete it. And again, it is like being on a fair where you talk to people. Of course, you want to talk to people, but the main reason is you want them to give that business card so you can continue have your salespeople contact that lead in order to see if this could become a good customer. Okay, so there are two possible best practices here. The first one is based on this psychological principle of the sunk cost fallacy, where you have them fill out, you don't ask anything in the beginning, but you have them fill out all the information beforehand, and at the end, you ask for their email address. Another way, not one is better than the other. However, you can start with, hey, please fill out your email address. Although some might think, hey, I'm not going to give you my email address. What are you trying to get from me? So you need to check what is best for your audience to use. But if you use the immediate ask email address, use then the button to save per question, because they might drop out after 2 questions, 3 questions, but then you still have their email address and you can contact them. Okay, so there is A/B testing. As I said, there is no limit of the numbers of questionnaires that you can run with Pointerpro. So trial and error, I would say. Trial and find out. Okay, so in the acquisition phase, talked about lead generation, but also lead conversion. So let's say the user has completed your questionnaire, and here is where Pointerpro makes a big difference with regards to any survey tool. Our platform allows to instantly offer something of value, a branded PDF report with insights and advice, even the smallest things that you can already adapt to the answers without giving your complete advice for free, of course. So let's look into 2 conversion-focused tips that I've collected here. Excuse me. So whenever a prospect completes a questionnaire, with Pointerpro, you have, of course, the ability to let that generate a branded PDF that they can download. And we see emerge more and more as a practice that Pointerpro users create different versions of their report. Often there's a freemium with, as I mentioned, some interesting insight and tips. And at the end of the PDF, then they motivate the recipient to engage further. And one way is to suggest they download a much more comprehensive report based on the answers that they have provided. for which they typically need to pay an amount of money. And that then helps to pay back for your license, of course. And here is an example of an executive coaching consultancy. It's called Focal Point Coaching, and they offer two different reports. So this is just a few pages, extracts from their personalized comprehensive premium support. And you can see it also includes exercises. And that's because when you buy the premium assessment, you're actually signing up for coaching sessions, amongst other things. And then the bottom line is, before they know it, your end customer is fully engaged with your service, and you really have one foot or even both feet in the door. Okay, so tip 5, adjust report content dynamically. This may be the most straightforward tip, given it's really what makes Pointerpro so unique. But I really want to insist, the advice and information you put in the reports can be fully personalized. Because you can base it on specific conditions, specific responses to questions, but also combinations of responses, scores, sub-scores, etc. And if you do this well, your prospect will basically already be convinced that you or your firm are the right service provider for them. Okay, so that was covering the acquisition phase. Let's now go into the second phase, which is then called the onboarding phase. Onboarding, I call onboarding, that phase starts basically as soon as you no longer consider the company as a prospect, but as an actual customer. Basically, as soon as there's a PO for a service of yours. Excuse me. If we simply translate what onboarding to a customer means, it's basically about collecting data, any relevant data about your customer that will help you better understand their full situation and optimize the service that you deliver. But of course, that data needs to be processed. And this is where many companies either don't leverage the data, either spend a lot more time than is optimal to leverage the data. And the example here on screen is from Wyngaerd Business School, and we'll get into their use case a little bit further in a few moments, but it's a very nice one. Here's another example of a company called Speakerflow. What they actually offer is setting up an ecosystem of software solutions for people to streamline their specific flow of work. But on their website, they have a lead generation assessment built with Pointerpro. But as soon as they onboard an actual new customer, they want to get a clear overview of who they will be working with. They're talking to several people in the company, and how to best be in touch with them, things of that nature. And for this, they use a separate assessment and collect a lot of customer info as a starting off point for the project. And then they can either they use it and they print it in a PDF and they distribute it amongst all the people that are working with that company. They also use then Zapier, for example, to automatically upload all that very interesting information into their CRM database. So it's all possible with one tool and then using it to the full extent. Okay. Here is an example I already mentioned of Vyngaerd, where the PDF report is very much of value also for the customer. In this case, it's an executive program student. So for the people who don't know Vyngaerd, that's a top-tier business school in the capital of Europe, in Brussels. They offer executive programs, and of course, one aspect that is very relevant today in business is digital transformation. Now, since we're speaking of higher education, of course, Valerik has a lot of research data at his disposal. And one of the things they do personalize their courses around, the topic of digital transformation, is letting participants take a digital maturity assessment that covers 8 dimensions. And the participants then also get their personalized report they can take in class. However, one of the strengths of these reports is that Valerik uses its research data to give concrete benchmarks. Benchmarking is a practice we really want to encourage because it gives more meaning to your data. It really motivates the recipients to improve, and it shows precisely where the gaps are. A very popular feature in our tool, and I want to highlight for this the spider chart in the report builder. If you haven't used it, just look into it. It is a very powerful way you can see your own results, what you think of yourself, for example, versus what somebody in at your level is doing, or what is an average of similar companies in your vertical. Okay. So the third tip in this phase is really connected to the next phase in the customer journey. And we'll find out in a moment, but the example I'll use for it is from 90.io. We use that tool too, by the way, internally at Pointerpro. And what they're doing is an assessment in the onboarding phase, and that is really to kickstart the project. And it's what they call, it's a zero measurement or a baseline measurement. And that is very powerful. And the key is to build the assessment so that someone who begins their coaching journey, of course, will have a low score. And then after your consultancy and advice, they will grow into all the targets and the KPIs that you have set. So that makes an easy transition from the onboarding phase into that project phase, because now the customer is on board. We have all the information of that customer available, and we need to start the project with the customer. Now, what is key? It's typical in this phase that your main contact, we all know that your main contact may have other stakeholders breathing in their neck, asking them, hey, is the investment worthwhile? What did you learn? Where are we in the journey? Is it paying off already? Especially if the project is for a longer duration. And the key thing I want to emphasize here is what we call maturity assessments. And again, here at 90, as I said, they put a baseline measurement, but then it has at specific times organizational fitness reviews, so that the subscribed coaches give to their end customers every quarter to follow up on the progress. So you can see here a hypothetical outcome of maturity assessment, and the report is very similar to that baseline report, but now, of course, the scores have improved and all the stakeholders are okay, tranquilo, everything fine. We invested in the right consultancy or services company. Okay. That brings us to the last phase. That is the handoff phase or closure of the customer journey. We talked about the acquisition. We talked about the onboarding. We went then to the project phase where actually the work is done. And then there's the handoff phase. And of course, in many cases, where possible, especially when you have a good relationship with your customer and you sense they enjoy working with you, you don't want to end things here. So you want to develop recurring business. By now, you know the customer quite well, and you may have other services that you can offer. So in reality, you may be handing off the project, but you still want to you keep them as a customer. So hypothetically, let's say you're a coach who has helped the customer improving organizational fitness, like in the previous example, and getting to know the organization, you may suspect there are other gaps, perhaps in individual skills that you can coach for. So you could then frame your final organizational fitness report as a readiness report and suggest some next steps. For example, the distribution of individual skills assessment to employees. And again, here you can use personalized reports or team reports to sell more services. You can see it here. We come at tip 11. Remember at the summarize data. Tip 11, nearly at the end. By now, you gathered a lot of data of your customer. So it is also data that you possess. And that's important now in these times of AI. Everybody, and that's the worst enemy of a consultant, the internet knows a lot, and ChatGPT gives already a lot of information that is generally available on the website or on the internet. But now you can use all the data that you have collected, and that is personally for you. And here you see it's a great example of our Pointerpro user, Mike Lander. And they have he has a consultancy business that specializes in sales and negotiating training. And he used Pointerpro to build training needs assessment and measure skills of prospects and customers. But he also used the data he collected to create a high quality white paper with insights on different negotiation profiles. And it was covered by Forbes. And he received an article, and that obviously gave him a big thought leadership boost. So just by reusing all the data that you've collected, know that you are sitting on a small treasure there. Okay. The final tip, and maybe the most straightforward one, that's just a customer satisfaction survey. What can we improve? Just tell us, how was the interaction? And don't limit yourself to just an NPS survey. If you're playing with the idea of adding new services to your offering, this is a great moment to check in with customers and ask about their enthusiasm and maybe their expectations. Here I show the example, and I like to use the occasion to promote a customer feedback survey that we will be sending out ourselves very soon. Our development team is currently working on AI integrations to improve user experience in our platform. And among other things, we'd like to find out a bit more. We have our ideas, of course, but we'd like to find out more what you want to have, what you want to see, what do you see we could help you in if we offer some AI tools in our tool. So, of course, eat your own dog food or drink your own champagne. We are doing that. So, to finalize, remember, summarize data. I went over the 4 phases of a customer where you can use in different ways the one single license that you've bought. You see here the different tips that I have provided for every phase. You can rewatch it if you want to say, hey, what was he saying again on onboarding or setting that zero line assessment or whatever. Everything is here. Contact our salespeople or people in the marketing department or myself, Stefan. We're very open to discuss these kind of things with you to see how we can help you making more use of our tool. Voila. One thing, summarize date. You see, it's not the data I need. Yeah. So I added the automate at the end to get summarize date is not a good acronym. So that is what I wanted to explain to you. Half an hour, exactly half an hour. So I hope it's been a little bit inspirational for you. I'm open for any questions. Okay. I'm consider. Oh, it goes too fast here. I'm considering generating. Oh, good one. I'm considering generating individual but also 360 reports. Can you generate both automatically with Pointerpro? Yes, thank you for that question. So I didn't touch upon HR and 360. I touched upon the Vlery case where we benchmark, and yeah, you can see the 360 report is also a little bit benchmarking. How do I do? But also, what do my peers say about me? Where do I find myself? What do my peers say? What does my manager say? And what do my reports, for example, tell me? So yes, you can generate both your individual report and a comparison individual versus group. If you want more information about that, we'll be happy, or every salesperson will be happy to explain you more. You can contact our customer success team also if you want more information about that and a demo or a test. Okay. Yeah. Are there any resources I can look into for using spider charts like these? Yes, there is. Yeah, there are links. I think Jeroen will share it with you, and we have help guides where we clearly explain, and I can make it so it's not that difficult to make that. You just need to enter which category on every how many axes you wanna show, what the scale is, and then where the what do you want to show. So it's quite self-explanatory. However, in video and in the help guides, there's a clear explanation. Okay. I think maybe time for one last question here. I see at the end. Can I feed Pointerpro response data into a CRM tool? Yes, of course. And indeed, I've mentioned Zapier. Any other alternatives, or is it possible to do it directly? So soon we will offer much more integration possibilities. Now today we have, Jeroen is already answering the Zapier and other things. So currently it's mostly that tool that we use to integrate. However, we within 3 to 6 months, we will be offering a very nice integration possibilities of our tool with other very frequently used tools. Okay. Voila. I hope it was interesting for you. At least thank you for being with us, and hopefully we see you next time again. Bye bye.